Hey guys, welcome back to another sports stuff video. Today, we're going to be talking about the Atlanta Falcons and the offseason plan that I've laid out for them. If you guys do enjoy, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified when I post next. Let's get into it. Atlanta Falcons offseason plan. Obviously, they have hired Raheem Morris, so they have their head coach who has experience at both offense and defensive coordinator and offensive defensive specialties. He also brought over Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator from the pass game coordinator from the LA Rams, and I believe he brought over the cornerback coach, the secondary coach for the Rams as well to be his defensive coordinator, and they retained the special teams coach from the Falcons last year. I like Zach Robinson. He had a lot of hype as potentially a head coach this offseason, but it gets our OC role in Atlanta, and I think with this offensive core, Zach Robinson, we saw what he can do with the passing game with Puka Nacua, with Tyler Higbee, with Cooper Kupp, with Tutu Atwell as well in the beginning of the season, with Demarcus Robinson. We see him use the star players. We've seen him use their good role players. I'm excited to see what Raheem Morris, Zach Robinson can do for the offense, and what Raheem Morris and the defensive coordinator can do for the defense. But after the coaches, here's what we got in re-signings. We have $25 million, about $26 million to work with in re-signings before we do any cuts, any trades. Just re-sign our own players. And first up, I am going to re-sign Matt Hennessy. He was their starting projected left guard this season, but then missed the entire season on IR. Again, projected starting left guard. He was a center at the beginning of his career and played pretty solid center. But with Drew Dahlman coming onto the scene, Matt Hennessy's been playing guard, was projected their guard, comes back on a one-year deal. Because Matthew Bergeron is playing left guard for them right now. But Jake Matthews is what? I believe he's 11 years into his career now at left tackle. So maybe, Matt Hennessy could be either that third guard or actually start for them. But Chris Lindstrom, Caleb McGarry, Drew Dahlman, Matt Hennessy, and Jake Matthews slash Matthew Bergeron is a really interesting offensive line. Honestly, it might be one of the best offensive lines of football if everyone is healthy. He's developed every single year he's played, and I think he deserves a chance to get, to come back and get that starting job back. I gave him a 1 year, $6.5 million deal, fully guaranteed. For these 1 year deals, I don't have an issue fully guaranteeing the deals, knowing that Matt Hennessy is not going to get cut. Because again, he was a projected starting left guard. He's played solid the entire career so far. Why would I cut him? Might as well just guarantee the full money. But yeah, $6.5 million for Matt Hennessy. Cuts and trades. I guess I did not. Oh, did I delete? I accidentally deleted something. So also with the Atlanta Falcons, I know I deleted it because I had to redo it. Marlon Davidson as well is an ERFA tender, restricted free agent. It's $1 million. Former second round pick has shown upside. I think let's tender him for $1 million. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Cuts and trades. I am gonna cut Jonnu Smith. Funny enough, he had 50 receptions for 580 yards and 3 touchdowns. Arthur Smith has exited. So if Jonnu Smith wants to go play somewhere else, he can go play in Pittsburgh with Arthur Smith. You save $6.5 million cutting him post June 1st. That's a lot of money. He's still a solid tight end. He'll land somewhere else. But at 29 years old, without Arthur Smith, because he had connections from the Tennessee Titans with Arthur Smith, move on from him. Let's save that $6.5 million to someone else, and maybe you can get a better tight end in the draft or in free agency. But I think that Jonnu Smith, just, let him go. Let Kyle Pitts be the true tight end number 1, and Jonnu Smith, he goes somewhere else and try and get another role like that. Taylor Heineke is also an unfortunate cut. He had 890 yards, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions this past year. He's an expensive veteran backup. $7 million is a lot of money to pay a backup quarterback who's not one of the top 5 best backup quarterbacks. You can get much cheaper. You save $7 million cutting him. I wouldn't be shocked if they keep him as like hey, if Desmond Ritter's not the guy, we have a veteran backup that we know has won in the league, almost won a playoff game. Like we know what the floor is, right? So maybe they do keep Taylor Heineke to be that potential, veteran backup. I just don't see it. Save $7 million is a lot of money you can get back. And as you can see later on in the video, I use that $7 million immediately to get a different quarterback. But here's all my restructures. Jake Matthews, a restructure for $12 million opens up. $9 million it opens up. Grady Jarrett, I don't see us cutting him. So at $7.5 million. Chris Lindstrom as well, $9 million opens up. Jesse Bates isn't going anywhere. $8 million opened up. David Onyemata had a really good season. I didn't want to cut him, but I did want to restructure over almost $4 million. And Caleb McGarry, same thing, is not going anywhere. $5 million. Opens up $37 million of extra cap space, bringing our total to $76 million entering free agency. And the very first free agent I want to sign is Paris Campbell. He had 20 receptions for 100 yards and no touchdowns this year. He's a young, speedy wide receiver who had a lot of flashes in Indianapolis. He dealt with a lot of injuries this year in DNPs in New York. That offense was just really tough in New York. No one was producing. He can hitch onto a solid offensive core in Atlanta and not be doesn't have to start, right? You got Drake London, and you got a bunch of random guys as well after Drake London. You're probably going to go into the draft needing to draft a wide receiver high. Paris Campbell can be that deep threat, that quick slot safety, slot wide receiver, whatever you want to do. It's a solid option for speed. He has upside still. He's, I believe, only 25 years old, maybe 26. He's still young, still has upside. I think it's pretty solid for him to come to Atlanta. 1 year, $4 million. I think that's pretty solid for what Paris Campbell can offer you. Then to get that true wide receiver 2 is DJ Shark. So DJ Shark, 35 receptions, 525 yards, and 5 touchdowns in Carolina. Same thing. No one really produced on that team outside of Adam Thielen and DJ Shark. So the fact that he had 500 yards and 5 touchdowns, that's promising with how bad that offense was. He bounces team to team every year because he's one of those wide receivers just like Brandon Cooks, just like Robert Woods. When he's on your team, they're amazing, but not good enough to sign long-term, it feels like. He has his best years ahead of him still. I truly believe that. He can cash in on solid play with okay quarterback play. Jared Goff, didn't throw the ball a lot to DJ, and then in Carolina was the number 2 option. Showed he had flashes, but that offense just wasn't good. So maybe come to Atlanta, where Zach Robinson likes to throw the ball. I think DJ Shark could get a lot more receptions and a lot more touchdowns. He's a reliable target, so I gave him a 2-year, $16 million deal about for DJ Shark, and only guaranteeing about 10 and a quarter. Really solid value. Then here's Gardner Minshew. As I said, I'm going to reuse that Taylor Heineke money into a new quarterback. I think Gardner Minshew has shown he deserves that chance, right? 3,300 yards, 15 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. He played great in the absence of Anthony Richardson. He's reliable every time he's called upon. Deserves a shot at running the team. He ran the Jacksonville Jaguars 1 year, but that team wasn't winning anything anyway. He's shown whether it's with the Eagles, with the Colts, with the Jags, he is a starting caliber quarterback. And I think he deserves a shot at running the team. He's the exact mold of quarterback you want for these offensive weapons. You want to run that team through the run game with Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier. Gardner Minshew can do that. He did. We saw him with Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss play quarterback through the run game. I think you can do it in Atlanta and throw to really good wide receivers and good tight ends behind a really good offensive line. I gave him almost the exact same deal Baker Mayfield got last year. 1 year, $6.5 million. And I think Gardner Minshew can put up really good numbers behind this team. Then we got Leonard Floyd. He had 13 tackles, 12 sacks, a forced fumble, and 20 stops this past year. He was great in his rotation role with the Buffalo Bills. He continues to bounce around as a veteran, whether it's with the Bears, whether it's with the Rams, now with the Bills, and now the Atlanta Falcons. He improves the pass rush group immensely. You got a lot of young guys at pass rusher. I think Leonard Floyd can come in, be that stable veteran you can rely on. I gave him a 2-year, $25 million deal, $15.5 million guaranteed, 62% of it guaranteed. Again, I'm a big fan of Leonard Floyd. I think he's done a really good job proving that he's worth that money, and I think that they would be an idiot not to sign him. Then there's Kenny Moore as well. So Kenny Moore had 72 tackles, 3 interceptions, 34 stops, and 2 sacks. He's one of the best all-around corners in football. He was second in tackles as a corner. He deserves a payday. I don't know if the Colts will give him that payday. I think they should, but maybe they want to save money for the offensive side of the ball. He's going to elevate the floor of the secondary day one, and I would love to see a cornerback room of him and A.J. Terrell with Jesse Bates and Richie Grant and their rookie safety that they had starting over Richie Grant this past year. The secondary would get even better day one. Gave him about a 3-year, $25.5 million deal. 3-year, $45.5 million deal. About 60% of it guaranteed. But yeah, I think Kenny Moore elevates the floor of this team. And I think, that, again, they would be an idiot not to sign Kenny Moore. Because not only is he in need, he's an immense upgrade at that position. Then, coming into the draft, you got $40 million still in cap space. I can see him going after a lot more, like, $4, $5, $6 million guys to fill out the roster. Maybe another linebacker, another defensive ends. Maybe another wide receiver on top of DJ Shark and Paris Campbell. Maybe a tight end number 2. Maybe a swing tackle. But yeah, $40 million. I think it's pretty solid for what this team is going in with. Then here is their mock draft I'm gonna put together. So at number 8, no trade ups, no trade downs for the Atlanta Falcons. I think they should sit and take Bijan Newton. He's a versatile D tackle that can play outside tackle too. So he can play inside, outside tackle, no matter what. He's versatile on the defensive line, which I think that's something that Raheem Morris is really going to like. He's the best D tackle in this class. He's going to be the first defensive lineman drafted more than likely. The only guy I think that could beat him is maybe Dallas Turner, maybe Leatu Latu, but I think he will be the very first defensive lineman period drafted. Atlanta could use him anywhere on the defensive line. Again, he's played inside tackle, outside tackle. I don't know what defense Raheem Morris runs off the top of my head, but I do believe that Bijan Newton, no matter what, is going to fit that defense. His own little Aaron Donald, you could say, but not to the level of Aaron Donald, obviously, but his own little premier, defensive tackle. Then at number 43, I do grab Jalen Polk out of Washington. Polk was a deep threat demon at college, and what I wanted to do with this wide receiver core in this draft was draft guys that were not Drake London, right? Drake London is your big body, big frame, contested catch guy. I want to go opposite of that, so all of your wide receivers can be on the field because they all do something a little different. Jalen Polk is that speed demon. He's top 10 in deep yards and deep catches in college football, and his yards per reception in his career were 23, 17, and 17. That's really good in college football. He had 1,100 yards and 9 touchdowns this past year at Washington. Obviously, Washington played a lot of games this year, and Jalen Polk was always used in the passing game. Then in the 3rd round, I grabbed JJ McCarthy out of Michigan. I feel like the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. 5th, obviously, as like, wow, you got him in the 5th round. That's a steal. 3rd round is the highest I think JJ McCarthy could go. At least that's why I think he should go. I think there might be a team in the 2nd, maybe at the end of the 1st round, that wants that 5th-year option on him. But I do think that JJ McCarthy, getting him in the 3rd round is a steal already. He's a run-first quarterback, could be exactly what you're looking for. Again, play through Bijan Robinson, play through Tyler Algier, and work off of that. That's exactly what he did at Michigan with Blake Corum and Donovan Edwards. Smith had the right idea. This is the bad execution of that idea, where you want to go through the run game, go to your options outside of the run game after it opens up. But Arthur Smith just wasn't executing that at the best rate. And he did a top 5 completion percentage against all other college football quarterbacks. Top 5 completion percentage at a Power 5 school in Michigan that won the national championship. And your top 5 in completion percentage. That's really good. He doesn't put the ball in harm's way. He plays off the run game. I think there's a lot of tools you could build on in the 3rd round. And again, you have Gardner Minshew to start this year. If he really does exceed your expectations, you sign Gardner Minshew to a long-term contract. JJ McCarthy is a long-term project backup. Cool. You get him in the 3rd round. Then in the 4th round, I do grab Max Melton. Melton was a boundary corner for most of his career. He's a good zone corner, which Raheem Morris likes. I do know that. Watching the Rams in the playoffs and their lead up to the playoffs as they're trying to lock in a position, they ran a lot of zone corner looks. I think that Max Melton could be a really good fit from Rutgers. He can be too aggressive at times, which leads to being burned. For example, he led up 12 touchdowns in his career, but also picked the ball off 9 times. So he's a little too aggressive for some at times. But while that aggressiveness leads to turnovers, it can also lead to getting touchdowns caught on him. So maybe you can develop, that part of the game where you got all the tools, right? You got all the fundamental tools, but you're too aggressive at these situations to where you should let up, don't always try to jump the route. Play it safe, tackle the guy, don't try and go for the ball and get burned. Then Cedric Gray from North Carolina in the 5th round. Gray, he's one of the best linebackers in this class. As you can see, it's a pretty weak linebacker class, but I do think that Cedric Gray will probably be more of a 3rd, 4th round pick. PFF has him rated pretty low, but I do think he'll be a 3rd or 4th round pick. Top 13 in nation at run stops and forced incompletions. That's really good at linebacker. He had 80 tackles. He's a good size to weight ratio to make him more athletic than, a stiff player. He's more athletic than you think. And he can potentially start in a weak linebacker room. I wouldn't be shocked, kind of like Ivan Pace Jr. for the Vikings. I wouldn't be shocked if Cedric Gray has such a good training camp and really good, scout team looks. They're like, let's give him a shot. Oh, wow, he's impressing. Okay, let's give him some starting reps. Oh, wow, he's really impressing. He starts, week 8 and on. I wouldn't be shocked if that's what happens with Cedric Gray. He's that kind of player, kind of like Ivan Pace, to play his role perfectly. Then I got Trey Taylor out of Air Force. He played all over the field, and he played pretty well all over the field as well. He had 50 tackles, 3 interceptions. He's a good coverage safety, okay at run defense. His size could hamper him. I think he's only 5'10" at safety. But again, he had snaps at box safety, deep safety, slot corner, stub linebacker, pass rusher. This dude played everywhere on the Air Force defense, and I think the Atlanta Falcons could use a chess piece like that for their defense. Then at 201, I'm going to grab another wide receiver for the Atlanta Falcons that plays a different role than both Jalen Polk and both Drake London. I grab Bryson Nesbitt out of North Carolina. He had a down year. He's a 6'5", 235 wide receiver. He's got size, but he also has speed. He could be an oversized slot or rotational red zone threat. You know, being 6'5", that's definitely something you want in your wide receiver room. But he also has really solid speed as well. He had 41 receptions for 585 yards and 5 touchdowns this past year. He makes most with what he gets. He's not going to be a guy that gets 80, 90, 100 targets a year. But if he gets like 60 targets, he'll probably catch 40, 45 of them for 580 yards and 4 touchdowns in the NFL. And I think every team in the NFL needs a guy who just, you know, he catches 80% of his passes and he gets the 10, 12 yards per reception, and in the red zone gets those, you know, big body catches. Every team in the NFL would like that. I think Bryson Nesbitt can do that for the Atlanta Falcons. Then in the 7th round, I do grab the replacement to Jonnu Smith in Brevin Spanford out of Minnesota. He had a down year compared to last year, but he's a solid run blocker who can improve at catching. Jonnu Smith replacement, as I said. He had 1,000 yards and 5 touchdowns in his career, but he's a really good run blocker. So you got Kyle Pitts, you got Brevin Spanford, and you kind of can just work off from that. You know, a 7th round pick, if he makes the team, he'll be making the team as a run blocker. Maybe he'll be more of the I'm trying to think of a good example people would think of, like Isaiah Oliver, right? Is he on the Ravens or is he on the Vikings now? Isaiah Oliver, wherever it's not Isaiah Oliver. It's I can't remember his name. The tight end with Josh Oliver. Josh Oliver is a tight end who's getting paid like $7-8 million a year, but he's the best blocking tight end in football, and he makes up that money with opening up lanes for the running back. And I think Brevin Spanford can really show how important run blocking tight ends are, especially for a team that, again, in my opinion, I think want to run the ball first and foremost. But yeah, that's my mock draft for the Atlanta Falcons. If you guys did enjoy, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification button if I want to post next. Again, just really quickly going over everything I said. We're going to re-sign Matt Hennessy, cut Jonnu Smith, cut Taylor Heineke. I'm willing to keep him. Restructure a bunch of guys, sign Paris Campbell and DJ Shark to help fill out that wide receiver room with different skill sets outside of Drake London. Gardner Minshew, give him the exact same 1 for $6.5 that Baker Mayfield got. Leonard Floyd, give him a $2 for $25 million deal. Improve his pass rush to get to the quarterback. Kenny Moore, elevate the Florida secondary. Had a great year in Indianapolis. Then in the draft, get Jazon Newton to improve that defensive line room. Jalen Polk, a speed demon, deep threat. JJ McCarthy, a potential future starter, but probably just more of a developmental backup. But, maybe you throw him out there towards the end of the season, see what he has. Max Melton, really aggressive zone corner that can be taught to be less aggressive in certain situations. Cedric Gray, developmental linebacker that I do think could start for this defense later on in the season, kind of like Ivan Pace with the Vikings. Trey Taylor, a chess piece safety that can play all over the field. Bryson Nesbitt, 6'5", 235 receiver, big body for the red zone, and has some speed to him. Then Brevin Spanford, who can be that blocking tight end for them for that run offense. If you guys enjoy, please like, subscribe. I'll see you guys later. Peace and bye.